In this video, we'll look at recreating and prototyping the sticky footer in the Google Photos iOS app. We'll recreate the footer menu using auto layouts, components and component sets, and then sticking them all in a prototype. Most apps or websites nowadays have a concept of a sticky header or footer. This basically means that when you scroll through the page, the header or the footer stay in the same place while the content moves. To recreate the Google Photos app, we're going to need a few bits and pieces. We're going to need a few pages, mobile size. We're going to need some icons, a font, some colors, and then stick them all together with components and component sets. So let's jump into Figma and get started. So the Google Photos app contains 4 main pages. I've recreated these pages in Figma already so we can navigate between them when we prototype. I've used the Figma auto layout feature and used the Unsplash plugin to import random photos. I did a quick search and found the font, which was Product Sans, and all the icons from the material icon set. The frames for these pages I added by hitting the A key and selecting phone, and then iPhone 14. This gives us a frame size of 390 by 844 pixels. We have 4 layouts, one for the Photos page, one for the search page, one for the sharing page, and finally one for the libraries page. Just a quick one, if you have an app or website you'd like me to recreate in Figma, just leave a message in the comments and I'll look into it for you. If we look at the real thing, there are 4 buttons that match the pages I've created above. Each has an icon from the material design icon set, a default color, and an active color. To make sure I get the sizing right, I'll take a screenshot of this and send it to my laptop. Then I can import it into my Figma design canvas. This is a great way to reference things like font sizes, colors, and layout positions. So looking at the screenshot, I can see that we're going to need 3 colors: the footer background, the icon default state, and the icon active state. I want to be able to easily reference the colors I need, so let's draw 3 rectangles. Okay, now select the first rectangle and click the color square over here. Now select the dropper tool and click the background of the footer menu. Cool, so we now have the background color for the footer. Let's do the rest of the colors. Select the second rectangle, hit the color square, select the dropper, and click on the active menu item color. It's a little tip for you. If you find the area you have to use the dropper on is too small, you can zoom in pretty easily using the mouse wheel or pinch on a trackpad. That way you can zoom in really close and have a large area of color to use the dropper on. Finally, select the third rectangle, select the color square, then dropper, and click the color for the inactive menu items. Okay, so we have all our colors ready. Now let's set up the menu item text. We need 4 words: photos, search, sharing, and library. Hit the T on your keyboard to open the text tool. Click on the canvas and type photos. The font should be Product Sans, which you can download. Now we don't know exactly how big the font should be, so I have a little trick for this. There may be better ways, let me know in the comments if you have one. Drag your photos text over the screenshot of the menu. Try to line up the words. You may have to tweak the size up or down a bit. Cool. Now we have to set it to the right color. We'll set up the default states first, then add the hover states after. Okay. Now copy the text and do the same thing for the other menu items, lining them up and updating the wording like this. Okay, now let's find the icons for these next. So run the plugin for material symbols by clicking up here and then searching for material and running this one. When your plugin is open, you can search for the icon you need. This can be a bit of a guessing game sometimes. I'll give you all the icon names as we go through them to make it easier if you want to recreate this yourself. So the first icon is called Image. You'll notice it's slightly different to the one from the screenshot. We'll get to why in a sec. The second icon is called Search, nice and easy. The third icon is called Group. Now, I've spent a little while searching for the fourth icon in the material icon library and cannot find it. If any of you guys manage to, let me know what it's called in the comments. I've replaced the library icon with one called Books. Now let's update all the icon colors to match the text. So we have the foundations for our menu items. Next is to turn this into an auto layout. Select both the icon and the text for the photos item and click the auto layout button over here. Make sure the auto layout is set to align top center. Cool, now do the same for the other menu items too. Let's rename these auto layouts so we can find them again easily in future if we need to. I'll quickly update these now. So we now have the default states for the menu items. We'll also need the active states so a user knows which page they're on. So let's duplicate these menu items, select them all and copy the set just below. Now if you look closely at the screenshot of the menu, the text and the icon change color when active, and the icon itself changes from outlined to solid. Let's quickly update these to the solid icon variant. Open up the Material Icons plugin again, select the icon you want to change, and you'll notice it gets highlighted in the plugin. This makes it really easy for us to change the icon. So all we have to do is change fill to on. Cool, I'll do that for the rest of the icons now. Now let's update the colors. Select all of your active menu items. In the Properties panel on the right, scroll down to Selection Colors. We need to update both of these to the light blue from the screenshot. Click the color square, select the dropper, and then click the blue color from the screenshot. Cool, so we now have our before and after menu items set up. We'll probably want to be able to reuse these again at some point, so let's convert them into components now. Select all your menu items and click Create Multiple Components up here. Now with them all still selected, click Combine as Variants. Let's call this component set Footer Menu Items. We need to update the menu item naming conventions quickly, so with your component set selected, change Property 1 to Type. Now click the plus button and select Variant. Change the name of this to State. This is where we'll choose whether we want the active or default states. Click Create Property. Finally, select all the active menu items and in the Properties panel, change State from Default to Active. Right, we now need to start putting these together into a menu. We'll need one more auto layout. This is where we take all of the menu items and create a menu bar that we can use. First, let's lock the background screenshot so we don't accidentally add it to our auto layout. Cool, we can't select it now. Next, select all the default menu item components you created and copy them over to sit on the screenshot. With them all still selected, click the Auto Layout button. Let's call this Footer Menu. Now we can resize this to match the screenshot, so drag out the left and right sides and click Align Top Center to centralize it all again. Let's drag out the bottom and then the top. Looks like we'll need a bit of padding to align this at the top a bit better. In the Properties panel under Auto Layout, click the individual padding button up here. This will let us control the padding for top, bottom, left or right on its own without affecting the rest of the layout. Click on the top padding section here using the up arrow on your keyboard. Start to nudge the menu items down. Cool, that's about right, I think. Last thing we want to do is set the background color. So with your menu selected, click plus next to fill here. and then click the color square, select the dropper and fill it with the same color as the background of the app itself. Our footer menu is ready. Let's turn this into a component now. So we want to start adding this menu to layouts we have and linking it all together so we have an interactive prototype. First thing we'll need to do is set the menu interactions up. Click the prototype tab up here. As we want this to look like we're on an iPhone, change the device to iPhone 14. Now select the Photos menu item. Drag the blue plus button to the Photos page in your design. Do the same to the other menu items, linking them up to the correct pages. Okay, now we need to add the menu to each of our layouts. Click the Design tab up here. Make a copy of the menu component and select the Photos layout by clicking its name. Now paste in the menu. Use your arrow keys to move the menu to the bottom. In the real app, the footer menu stays in place when a user scrolls through the content. We want the same behaviour. So with the menu still selected, check the Fix Position when scrolling box under Constraints in the Properties panel. Let's do the same thing by adding the menu to the remaining 3 pages. We're pretty much ready to test our prototype. Let's quickly hit the Prototype tab again. This time select the Photos layout. In the Properties panel, click the plus button next to Flow Starting Point. This tells Figma that this is where the prototype will start. Rename your flow starting point to whatever you want. I'm going to call it Start. Now click the play button next to the frame. Awesome, so our Google Photos prototype is working, but there are a couple of tweaks I think we need to make it a bit better to match the original. Let's quickly jump back into the design. Firstly, the menu in the original is slightly transparent, which gives it a cool effect when the user scrolls past the photos. Select the master component for the footer menu. Under the layer section, change the percentage down to about 95%. Cool. Now the last thing we need to do is highlight the active menu items depending on which page they're on. On the Photos page, select the menu, then select the Photos menu item. Because we set this up as a component set, we can quickly change the state of this one from default to active. Let's do the same for search and sharing and finally library. Now let's test this prototype one last time. Great, so the footer menu is slightly transparent, and as we navigate through the menu items, they become active if a user is on a certain page. This is one of many ways you can prototype a sticky footer using component sets and variants. If you want to learn more about auto layouts, components, icons, and a few other cool things you can do in Figma, check out the videos which I'll link in the description. I'll see you next time. Cheers.